Hi, InsurTech Business Series. Thank you for the good work that you're doing. Your podcasts are always interesting, thought-provoking, and educational. I am Ines, and I'm following you from Johannesburg, South Africa.
Hi, everybody. Sure that you are having a great start of the week. I'm sure that majority of us rested during the weekend, especially with Lagos. It's been a whole lot of traffic. I saw the blocked the Third Mainland Bridge, and so majority of us were stuck on the mainland on the weekend. So, how was your weekend, Damola?
Yeah, my weekend was restful. A good time for me to rest, actually. A lot of activities during the week, so it was a good time for me to rest. But I mean, the week generally was quite interesting. Hearing news as regards some insurtechs on the African continent, getting investments was quite positive news. That really just made me happy to see a lot of movements on that front, especially on the African continent. Exciting times ahead.
This week's speaker is an amazing person. She's a thought leader in the insurance space. Someone who has had several experiences from different continents, from different places. Bringing that into the Nigerian space, we're expecting to see, more of these experiences play out in our market space. And with the fact that, she's able to understand and she's learning about the market again is something that's worthy of note. And it's important that we watch out for that. So I'm super excited, not just the fact that she's a female, she's one of the leaders for the existing insurance companies in Nigeria. That passion is there to also drive the changes in Nigeria and also try as much as possible to increase the penetration index rate, which I think is fantastic. What do you think about her, Damola?
I definitely can't wait to share that conversation. We're looking forward to, a lot more engagements like this one from a lot of other industry professionals. You've said it all right. She's such an amazing person who has been engaged in a lot of things, especially in the insurance space on the African continent, helping her company to expand their reach in the East African part of the continent. And so it's interesting to see how she's coming to the Nigerian market now, leading the Nigerian business of the worldwide insurance group of our company.
On that note, we'll be having the most amazing Adeolu Adewumizer, the MD CEO of Allianz Nigeria. I'm sure that you would enjoy the conversation with her, and so we would advise that you don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. This is officially our first podcast as this year, as you mentioned, and we're super excited about that. So, good morning.
Good morning, Folumi.
All right. So, you could tell us about your background and experience, generally, insurance or outside insurance.
Mm-hmm. Okay, sure. So, one misinformation maybe out there that I need to correct is that I am a Nigerian. So despite the last three letters of my last name and my American accent, born in Nigeria, hold a Nigerian passport. My two boys have their Yoruba names, so very much through and through a Nigerian. However, I have been for a long time a global nomad. That's the term I like to use. Having started in the US, moved to Europe, also worked in Asia and then now in Africa, first based in Nairobi. Started as an actuary, funnily enough, 20 plus years ago in the US. But I've always had, even as a child, an absolute conviction and passion for the immense potential that we have and see in the African continent. And so every move I took from when I moved to Germany with the idea that, okay, if it's not Africa, at least I'm in the same time zone as Nigeria. Even when I moved to Turkey, developing market, not as developed as the West, but maybe be more of a transitional market. And my last position in Nairobi, running mergers and acquisitions for Allianz in Africa, all of it with the goal to really drive growth and transformation across our beautiful continent. And now I'm really thrilled since September to be now running our Allianz subsidiary in Nigeria, where we are in the midst of preparing for a fantastic 2021 year, where we want to really transform ourselves for the new post-COVID, not quite post, but we'll call it the post-COVID era, what we're calling Allianz 2.0.
That's great. So before we go into the whole insurance thing, I mean, really delving into all of this conversation, you now, like, how are you? I mean, like you mentioned just now, I mean, moving into the Allianz 2.0, yes. That has been necessitated by all of the activities of the past year, right? But from you personally now, how are you? How have you been? And then how has it been moving like majorly now into Nigeria?
I'm doing great. I'm super excited about 2021. I started it off with spending some time with my brother and his two teenage children who came to visit us in Nairobi. It was the children's first time ever in Africa, having been born in the States. Wow. My brother's first time outside of Nigeria. We spent about a week and a half exploring Nairobi, exploring Kenya, had a really great time. And I just felt very refreshed after having that family. With all the moves, I've always been very distant in terms of physically distant from my family. So it was really great to have that time after not having seen my brother for such a long time, to have all the cousins together, getting to know each other for the first time. So despite the tough 2020 year that we've gone through, I'm starting 2021 feeling very positive about the future.
Oh, okay, that's amazing, really. But aside what you feel about, aside family, work and all of that, but coming to the Nigerian market now, initiating the Allianz 2.0, how do you feel about the Nigerian market? Do you think that there's going to be great progressivity over time? Or you just think it's a different ballgame from what you've been exposed to?
I would say that every market has its peculiarities. Every market is different, but there are definitely similarities if you're within the same sector between markets. Nigeria is not an easy market. I don't think that's anything I need to tell anybody, but it has such immense potential. And that's what I find so excited about the Nigerian market. So when we think about what happened in 2020, which was really unprecedented in our own lifetime. We've had global pandemics in the past, but I think for the three of us on the phone, we were not alive during that time. And so this is something that really impacted the entire world. It impacted each of us personally in different ways. And Nigeria was no different. The economy was just hit by the decrease in oil prices. We had strict lockdown restrictions in Nigeria, as similar to other countries. So you just had basically the entire world working or sitting at home, trying to drive the economy from the confines of their four walls. And that's not easy. But what we have here in Nigeria is that we have such a young population. We have a growing population. We are still the largest economy by far, and the largest population by far in Africa. And no Africa strategy can be complete when you don't look at us here in Nigeria. So if you look at the potential, and I know that the insurance penetration has been quite low when you compare it to other countries, even when you compare it to other African countries here in Nigeria. But I see it as that just shows how much potential there is. I've always been a glass half full kind of girl. And so when I started in the African market and Nigeria was being downplayed as only having 0.3 penetration, and now we're hovering just under 1. And that's only in a few years. So just think of where we can go from there. And we need to do more. We need to do much, much more. I would say we need to do 10 times more if we look at the global average of about 10% insurance penetration. So, and that means we need to really focus on the mass market. We need to focus on retail. We need to take our focus a bit away from the huge corporate clients, the oil and gas, the aviation sectors who know about insurance, they understand the risks that they need to face with. But the woman on the street who is selling bananas to me, the guy who's going on his motorcycle making deliveries, what do they know about insurance? And do they understand the risks that they face each day? The safety net, that's what I like in insurance. It's really a safety net that when, God forbid, when something happens, that you have someone there who can stand by your side.
You mentioned there about what is applicable in some other markets, even in Africa. From your experience on the eastern part of the African continent, what did you see then, or what was your experience then? I mean, working with mergers and acquisitions. I mean, I know you worked on the Jubilee partnership with Allianz and Jubilee Insurance. I'm sure that, I mean, going into that kind of deal, you'd have done a lot of research and assessment of the market. How is that market, and what do you think that we can learn from that market? Because we have had conversations with people from that part of the continent, and we've seen a lot of things that mobile technology is, for example, doing in that space, and some of the things that the regulator, for example, is doing. But you being on the ground there at some point in time, what was that place like, and what can we draw from there?
Yes, and you've touched on two good ones. So I would say there are three areas I've seen in the East African market that we could really learn from. Technology would be one. So the way that they've really been able to leapfrog, I would say, the West in terms of technology, M-Pesa being the biggest example in terms of mobile money, and the fact that M-Pesa has 90% penetration in Kenya. That's amazing. So there was a technology I had been reading about already 10 years before I moved to the country, and I have been just tremendously excited about the potential that we can have when we actually have a mobile money system that works consistently across the country and even across the continent when we get to that space. The second one would be the focus on customer versus product. That's a shift that we really need to make, and that we're starting to see being made across the continent, across the world, where it's no longer about pushing a life product or pushing a motor product or a fire, but really sitting with each of our customers and talk to them about where they are and what they're used to seeing from places like Amazon, like places like Jumia, and making sure that we can provide those type of products, because that's what they want. And we're looking at solutions rather than pushing products. The third thing I would say I saw in East Africa is really, as you mentioned, the partnership with government. And so these private partnerships, as they name them, PPP, that the government has stepped in, the insurance regulators stepped in to really drive financial inclusion, and that's the word, financial inclusion, across their countries. It's not just about the insurance, but really just making sure that the unbanked are reached, because there are so many of them.
Okay, so about the financial inclusion, I remember having to explain a model of Allianz, almost try to replicate what they did, and that was I think one of the financial inclusive products was about joys of motherhood. It had to do with insurance for pregnant women, and it looks like it was actually a very good one. I think it was I don't know if it was in Kenya or it was in one of those Cote d'Ivoire or something. I can't really remember the location, but it just seemed like one of the products to go at the time. It was partnered with micro finance. Now, are you seeing something like that in Nigeria, judging by the fact that we have a lot of people that are underserved in Nigeria and they are financially excluded? Are you looking at also maybe replicating or doing more than that for the Nigerian market?
We can learn a lot from other markets, particularly the other emerging markets, also more developed markets. And so it's really about understanding what the consumer in Nigeria needs, what they want, what to conserve their best interests. So we're always on the lookout, having conversations with our customers, hearing their responses and looking out. And that's one of the benefits of working for a global multinational like Allianz, is that we're very easily able to reach out to our colleagues in other countries and say, oh, this is an idea we have we already done this within the group, rather than having to reinvent the wheel ourselves.
I want us to step away from the insurance a bit, right? And say, okay, when we started off the conversation, you talked about, calling yourself like that Norman. I've followed you a bit, right, on LinkedIn, and I read a lot of your write-ups, and there's this joy that comes from, reading it. I can sense that you probably enjoy some of these, movements and seeing new places and things like that. But that's what I think. To tell me if you do enjoy it, and then how are you able to manage all of that with creating relationships and things like that? Like you mentioned again, 2021 started off with the family time, and which you really cherish.
So I would say a resounding yes. I simply love to travel. I always have. And what is moving other than extended travel, right? So this is actually the opportunity to do more than visit all the tourist attractions, but really get to know people, get to know their cultures, get to learn their languages. And so when I moved to Germany, I learned German. My husband is Turkish. When we moved to Turkish, I picked up some Turkish and even a bit of Swahili. So it's really been exciting to do that. And I thank God that I'm living in 2021 when we have technology that can support all this. When we have LinkedIn, when we have WhatsApp, I'm huge fans of both of them, of both applications. I have friends everywhere, and I do my best between all our busy schedules to really reach out to them. One of the silver linings with COVID is the fact that everybody was at home, and it became just so easy to stay in contact with people, to have video chats, to have video coffees, to do things that actually we could have always done because the video technology was there. We just didn't, for whatever reason. We were just busy with our own lives, and so my family became closer. We have my extended family, so we have weekly family Zoom calls where we get together and talk about our week, and that's been really great. My friends, if I just give you a quick example, I have a friend who I went to college with, to university with, a Kenyan, and this was in the US. We fell out of touch. We were very peripherally on touch in LinkedIn, and then one day he noticed one of the posts that you're talking about, Damola, and he realized I was in Kenya. And he reached out and said, wait a minute, I'm in Kenya too. Where are you? and it turned out that he lived on the same street that I worked. And I had already been in Kenya for a year. And we never realized this. I never would have realized this if it wasn't for the benefit of technology bringing us back together. And in terms of how I'm able to do it, it's really a support system. I have a fabulous support system, a mix of paid and unpaid. I have, of course, support at home, staff at home who help me out tremendously with the household, with the children. My husband is my anchor. And so this is what I always say. Once you want to really build a career, you really have to choose. The first, most important decision you need to make is to choose the right partner who will support you in that.
Yeah. I totally agree with that. And that's like really a blessing, because judging by what we've heard over time, is that's one thing that could either make or mar you as a person.
For sure.
But off the record, I probably will come back to meet you to learn a bit of Swahili. I wouldn't mind start taking master classes from you. So I know that building a career as a woman can be really quite difficult, especially if you're coming from places like the Africa continent and as much as possible trying to get things done as a woman. Have there been challenges you faced along the line in terms of your career, in the various places that you've worked, in terms of, having to achieve some of these things you want to achieve, and with the large number of gender bias that we have?
It has been interesting to see the perception of women and how varied but yet the same it has been through all the countries that I've lived in. So whether it be the US or Germany, Turkey, Kenya, now in Nigeria. If I give you some of my background, so my parents, of course, are Nigerian, well-educated Nigerians who, as typical Nigerian parents, really impressed the importance of education and getting ahead to all their 5 children. I'm the oldest of the 5 and was a matriarch at a very young age. So I would say that I had...
Mixed 3 of us, by the way.
Wow, okay. That's an interesting coincidence. So that you'll understand exactly what I'm talking about when you say that. So that already prepares you, and so by both nature and nurture, I've been prepared to be driven. And having grown up in the U.S. as a Black woman, Black African woman, I'm used to being the only one, whether it was by race or whether it was a culture or whether it was religion. As a Christian in a country of Muslims, or whether it was by age, I was typically the youngest in many of the rooms, or whether it was gender, being the only woman. So that's something that I've faced with and dealt with my entire career. And I would say that my ambition, my focus, my experience protected me, thankfully, from much of what women go through. However, I am aware and I know, and so my job now, being where I am, is to really prepare and protect other women who don't have the benefit of my background and knowledge, and that's a duty that I take very seriously, particularly in the last couple of years, and pushing ahead in terms of coaching, mentoring women around me, also men, and also not only live, but via podcasts such as this one, webinars, conferences. I really see it as my duty to be out in the forefront, not because I particularly myself like to be on center stage, but I do understand that other women need me to see people who look like them, so that they have the confidence to get ahead as well. And the issues are real, whether we talk about gender pay gap, whether we talk about women getting slower promotions, whether we talk about how most women have less support at home, whether they're the breadwinner or not. These are themes that I've seen across all the various countries and markets I've worked in, unfortunately.
True. And those are some of the things that we also saw as well. We have this project that we're working on. It's Women in Insurance project, where at some point in time, we saw that we're speaking mostly to men. And we looked around and said, hey, actually, women are doing amazing things. We have women leading some of the major stakeholders in the industry, the CIFM, CINDG, the NIA, yourself coming into industry at that time, as MD of Allianz Nigeria, MD of Coronation Insurance today is a woman, MD of African Alliance is a woman, and MD of Enterprise Life is a woman.
And don't forget, very important, the Vice President of the US will also be a woman. Yes!
Yes. Yes. We began to see all of that, and it was a conscious effort, and we began to see as well, and engaging out of these conversations and doing some research, we saw that definitely there was a gender issue, especially in the insurance space. One of the things that we are trying to do with the project is to engage insurance professionals, female insurance professionals like yourself, like some of these people that we have spoken with, to talk about their experience, and then also engage in some form of training and coaching and support for young female professionals in the industry, and even maybe in tertiary institutions, even secondary schools, to say, hey, this is a path that you can take. This is a career that is worth it. These are people who are doing it, so being able to bring together people like you and say, hey, come and be a part of this, and come and encourage these younger people, and see how we can get more people, more women involved, not just in insurance, but also even in the top level as well, because a lot of other the decisions that needs to be taken with the woman a lot more in the conversation. So definitely be happy to work with you in some form on that project as well.
Yeah, for sure. It's a passion of mine, so happy to support.
Great. now you are leading, you're the captain of this Allianz Nigeria ship, right? And what should the industry be expecting from your leadership? What's going to be different? What are you bringing to the table? What should we be expecting from Allianz Nigeria?
Yes, so I had mentioned Allianz 2.0. That's what people should be expecting from us in the industry. I am an Allianzer. I've been at Allianz almost a decade, but I'm also very much a Nigerian. And so it's this combination that I see is very powerful in terms of transforming and bringing us into the future, so that we can leverage the excellence that Allianz has built up over the last 130 years in 70 plus countries, bring that excellence to this market. And in year 2148, 130 years from now, I want to see that Allianz is very much a very known, a household name in Nigeria, and is seen as a trusted partner by our partners, and as an employer of choice. And this is what we are building starting from already today. We want the Nigerian market to know that we are there for you. One of the things that we are working on this year is our Olympic partnership. So you might have seen that the Allianz has partnered with the Olympics for the next 8 years. Super excited about that. Super excited to show that we can really deliver on our promise, that we are behind you as our customer for what's ahead. And this will be our focus for 2021 and going forward.
That's amazing, really. I must confess that what you guys are doing and the Allianz 2.0, I'm super excited, and I really hope to see some of these changes coming forward. But I'm talking about trust. You mentioned something about for partnership to trust you, for customers as well to trust you. We know that there's a constant global issue with the industry, and that's trust.
Yes.
Right, a lot of people are so evasive about insurance. When you talk about insurance, they either trust that you don't pay claims, or they just generally don't trust the brand. So how exactly are you looking to address that trust issues, especially when it comes to this market where we cover everything with the blood of Jesus? How exactly are you?
Perhaps I should do the same as well. Trust is a tricky one for insurance companies, and it's not just in the Nigerian market. In the US, people don't trust insurance companies. In Turkey, they did a survey, and insurance was last out of 70 different sectors in terms of trust. And what we need to do to address that is that we need to build. You can trust someone the more you spend time with them, right? It's like any relationship. And when you just meet someone, you have no basis for trust. But when you've known them for, say, 10 years, 20 years, you spend time with them, you can trust that person with your life. And it's that face time that builds trust. And that's what we as insurance companies haven't had in the past, because you buy your motor insurance once a year, and God willing, you don't have an accident. And so you don't see us again until a year later. What reason do you have to trust us then? When you meet and talk to your insurance agent once a year, what we need to do is build more interactions with our customers, more regular interactions with our customers, so that you really feel that we are a partner in your life, that you really feel that when you have things you want to address and goals you have in the future, you have someone at your back who will take you there. So again, I go back to Olympic slogan, behind you for what's ahead. This is what we need to do, and we need to make that really concrete. It can't just be words on the billboard or words at the Olympics later this year, but it has to be that we need to find ways to bring that message to you as our customer, as our consumer, each and every day. And this is what we're working on.
There's a lot of mention about partnerships, right? You mentioned right now partnership with, on the Olympics. Partnership is not something that, especially from the insurance space, is not something that has been so popular in this part of the world, right? Especially in Nigeria. Looking at the insurtech insurance space of the world, especially from last year, partnerships, a lot of reimagining of distribution channels, a lot of collaborations, doing something different, really. in the way we serve our customers. How is Allianz approaching that whole idea of partnership? Again, like I said, it's not something popular in this part of the world. I know that recently Allianz Nigeria announced a partnership with Get It Done Now platform. How are you approaching the whole idea about partnership, especially in the Nigerian market?
I fully agree with you that partnerships are quite critical, and it's something that Allianz as a group has found also quite critical. When you look at some of the partnerships we've done in the past, Olympics we already talked about, Formula One, many of the football teams, when you look at the stadiums that we sponsor, exactly. And even in this part of the world, across Africa, particularly in my previous role, we've built partnerships. So we have a partnership with Bima, which is a digital microinsurance platform focused mainly in Africa and Asia and emerging markets. We have a partnership with Africa Re, where we have a financial stake in that company, in that Pan-African insurance company. We also took a small stake in Safe Oda, which are the motorcycle logistics company that was based out of Uganda, coming to East Africa. We just sealed the partnership with Jubilee. So we do definitely believe in partnerships. And you mentioned the GIDN, the Get It Done Now partnership that we just closed here in Nigeria. I do believe that we need partners to collaborate to build the future we want for Africa. None of us can do it alone. Africa is too big. We have too many countries. We have too many challenges we need to face. And we can only do that if we partner with other companies with similar mindset who are really charged and excited about changing the trajectory and the future of our continent.
I mean, you've actually said what we are been trying as much as possible to push to our audience, that it's really important that most organizations coming up now and those that have been before, the incumbents should consider partnerships. But like you said, we've seen some of the things that you're doing with Bima. At least over the time, I think I'd actually followed that. And we know that it's really amazing to be able to adopt some of those things. But coming down to Nigeria, for instance, for insurtechs that are coming up, what do you think are the potential partnerships that you are looking at? There's some insurtechs that we've had the opportunity to interview, to speak with people that are doing health insurance, people that are trying as much as possible to reduce, claims fraud in Nigerian space. But for insurtech businesses, what kind of partnerships is Allianz 2.0 looking at dealing with?
So, of course, we would never name specific names until things are concluded. But I would say that the type of partners we're looking at there's space in the insurance process and insurance sector for a major disruption across the entire line, whether it started at the point of sales and going to that moment of truth when we pay claims. Unfortunately, we've lagged behind, even behind the banks, in terms of getting into the digital age and making sure that we automate these processes so that we can speed or increase the speed without losing the excellence that we deliver to our customers. And so we're looking for partners who can help us do this. Yes, we could. We have the knowledge perhaps to build it all in-house, but we don't have time to build it all in-house. If others have focused on particular points, they have become the experts on how we can best digitize these points, and let's partner with those.
Okay, so where do you think that regulation comes in all of this, in terms of the regulatory body, for instance, in Nigeria? So we've always had issues about regulation being more of compliant and supportive. So how exactly do you intend to tackle this? I'll give an instance with when micro-insure came into Nigeria to have a bit of a micro-insurance product and distribution to all the staff or financial exclusive people. They were faced by a lot of challenges arising from different aspects of regulatory bodies in Nigeria. And in terms of achieving that bit. So how exactly does Allianz tend to tackle that part of regulation?
So we're very excited to work closely with the National Insurance Commission, what we call NICOM, who is the regulator for the insurance industry in Nigeria. With the new commissioner, Sunday Thomas, he's been made very public the ideas he has around digitizing the space in the insurance sector in Nigeria. This is very exciting times for us. In fact, it's perfect timing because we see that NICOM will be one of our key partners in increasing financial inclusion. And the only way that you can increase financial inclusion in a country the size of ours is if we leverage technology as heavily as possible. So we're working closely with NICOM to do just that.
It's great that you mentioned digitization and things like that. This has been something that has been talked about since at least even before 2020. But 2020 really just increased the volume. So from your experience in other markets and then looking at what you want to achieve with Allianz Nigeria, what does digitization and adopting technology and leveraging innovation practically mean?
For me, it means three things. And so these three things are touching on how do we work, how do we serve our customers, and how do we use data to serve our customers. So when we go to how do we work, what I call the digital office, as you mentioned, before COVID-19, everybody was dragging their feet on, do we allow people to work from home? We need people to come in the office. Oh my gosh, I need to see people to make sure that they're working. And all of a sudden, the world had to shut its doors. The business world had to shut its doors, and everybody had to work from home. And all those questions went out the window because we were all forced to realize that actually we can be very efficient and work very well at home. We have the technology, we have the knowledge, we have to trust our employees to do what they're supposed to do. It doesn't matter whether they're in their office or whether they're home if we don't trust them. So this idea of the way we work and the new reality of work is something that has come not just in the West, which is where people kept saying, in the US, you can do something like that. In Nigeria, you can do something like that because we've been doing it for the last 10, 11 months. At Allianz, we're still working from home. And even though we've just moved locations, we see no real reason to make people suffer the traffic that would just leave them tired and cranky and not able to work their best just to get them into the office. Second thing I would say, like I said, is a customer forcing us to think about if we can't be in the office, if we can't all have all our manual papers and processes in place, what do we need to change this process? What do we need to make sure that all the information is at our tips so that we can still serve customers from wherever we are? Third thing is data and availability around the data. So in the past, in some of the rules and regulations around insurance, around the financial industry in general, seem to force us to be very analog and not able to do many of the things online that we would prefer to do. For example, contracts, just a simple rule that contracts have to be in hard copy, then doesn't allow you to automate processes like you would like. But those things are changing. COVID-19, that's a silver lining, has forced a real global rethink about how we do things and help people to realize that we are sitting in the year 2021 and there's no reason to work as if it is still 1990.
Well, I think that's well said. I couldn't agree more for what you said. And I'm really happy that one of the benefits that, should I say, positives of COVID-19 was the fact that it as much as possible increased or jump-started the era of digitization. A lot of organizations probably had to sit up as swiftly and as quickly as possible to try and adapt to the changing times. It was disruptive, in my own opinion, and I think it was just the way to go, because it did seem like if that didn't happen, a lot of people would begin to buy into the idea of technology as they did because of the pandemic and having to work from home. So I totally agree with you. But before we let you go, I just have one more question for you. I know that Allianz has a bit of market segment when it comes to relating to SMEs. You can correct me if I'm wrong, actually, but I've always wanted to know why the business is focused on providing services to SMEs or MSMEs businesses as it's known nowadays. What was that segment identified for specific attention, and what values or products do SMEs have who have been largely on the underserved stand to benefit from Allianz?
Yeah. So we talked earlier about collaboration and how we need to collaborate with partners to build the future that we want for Africa. And what we need to remember very clearly is that the future of Africa lies with MSMEs, right? So they form the backbone of, and when you want to move the economy forward, they form the backbone. It's not the Apples and the Googles and the Jumias and the Safaricom's. It's the mom and pop shop. It's the person in the market selling their goods. It's the small insurtech company who is starting to build their space. And we have clear examples of that across the world. If I take Germany, the headquarters of Allianz, the Mittelstand, perhaps you heard of that. So that's what Germany calls the SME market. And many people don't realize that, forget Siemens, forget Bosch, forget Mercedes, but it's the Mittelstand that drive almost 30% of Germany's exports. And Germany is known as an exporting machine. And it's these smaller companies, the ones that you haven't heard about, that really drive that economy forward. And if we want to replicate the same in Nigeria, if we want to replicate the same across Africa, we need to create our own Mittelstand. And so this is where Allianz, as a Germany-based company who has seen that happen over the last 130 years, wants to be there to support that same development here in Nigeria as well.
I'm happy to hear about the focus on SMEs, because like Folumi said, it's been excluded, so to say, over the years, and there are a lot of solutions that they need that are not being offered. So it's great to see that they're entering into that space proper. So thank you. I really appreciate the time that you spent coming to speak with us today.
It's been my pleasure. Looking forward to giving you the update on Allianz 2.0, perhaps this time next year.
Absolutely. We definitely
would love to hear that
and continue the conversation, because that's what we want to do, engage all of this conversation to spur action. And Allianz 2.0 really is about action, just doing it. So thank you again for coming on.
Thank you, Damola. Thank you, Follow Me.
Hi, InsurTech Business Series. Thank you for the good work that you're doing. Your podcasts are always interesting, thought-provoking, and educational. I am Ines, and I'm following you from Johannesburg, South Africa.
Hello, and welcome to the news update. My name is Opeolua. The headlines. Federal government of Nigeria supports ECOWAS Brown Card Insurance Scheme. Ganiyu Musa becomes Chairman Council of Buru ECOWAS Brown Card. Allianz begins 8-year partnership with Olympics. Now, the details. Federal government of Nigeria supports ECOWAS Brown Card Insurance Scheme. The Nigerian government has shown its full support to the full implementation of the ECOWAS Brown Card Insurance Scheme in a bid to guarantee prompt compensation to victims of road accidents within the ECOWAS member states. The Minister for Finance, Zainab Ahmed, while speaking at the inauguration of the new chairman of Council of Buru, ECOWAS Brown Card Insurance Scheme in Abuja, noted that the existence of the scheme and its effective implementation will stimulate integration of the West African Regional Bloc preparatory to the full implementation of the African Continental Free Trade Area, subscribed to by most ECOWAS countries. Ganiyu Musa becomes Chairman Council of Buru ECOWAS Brown Card. The current chairman of the Nigerian Insurance Association, NIA, and the Group Managing Director of Cornerstone Insurance PLC, Ganiyu Musa, has been inaugurated as the Chairman of the Council of Buru, ECOWAS Brown Card, at the 37th session of the Council held in Abuja. The insurance scheme will help guarantee the victims of road accidents a prompt and fair compensation of damages caused by non-resident motorists from ECOWAS member states visiting their territory. Allianz begins 8-year partnership with Olympics. Allianz has officially begun its 8-year worldwide partnership with the Olympics and Paralympic movement on the 1st of January 2021, building on a collaboration with the Paralympic movement since 2006. Chief Executive Officer of Allianz SE, Oliver Bate, said, "As a supporter of the sports ecosystem and through shared core values of existence, friendship, inclusion, and respect, Allianz and our 148,000 employees and 100,000 agents are excited to care and deliver for athletes, their families, and their ambitions." That's all on the news update. Over to Damola and follow me.
That was an amazing conversation. It was super interesting to hear a lot of things that are in store, for Allianz Nigeria, starting off with 2021 and their outlook. For me, what really just stood out was, their focus on creating a lot more opportunities and solutions for some aspects of the market that have been excluded really over time. Talking about the SMEs, he spoke a lot about the Allianz Group generally, starting off in Germany, how they really were particular about the small scale businesses and how they've been able to create value in that space. And they're trying to replicate all of those things, even in the Nigerian market, creating a lot of solutions specifically for SMEs who are really the bolts and nuts of the economy, right? So that was an interesting thing to note.
Yeah, like you mentioned, I like the fact that they're as much as possible trying to create, apart from creating microinsurance products for individuals as they've commonly done in other parts of Africa, also trying as much as possible to provide a lot of opportunities for MSMEs, which I think is really one thing to look out for. As part of the SDG goals, one of the goals is, to provide a lot of job opportunities and then, reduce the poverty level. And judging by some of the research that I've done over time, I've often realized that MSMEs are the ones that currently provide at least 90% of the jobs in Nigeria. So having to focus on MSMEs and providing, value creating products for them, I think that would further help and aligns with the SDG goals of reducing poverty and making a lot of men and empowering a lot of men and women, which I think that they are already unearthing all of those opportunities in that space. So for me, I think that's one of the major things that stood out. And another one would be the fact that we are partnering with Olympics. That's one way to project or further project the image of the organization. I love anything that has to do with branding and being outspoken as much as possible and being out there. Those are the kind of things that sort of gets people's attention. Who doesn't like anything Olympics? Sports generally, especially football and all of that. So it's just another thing that stood out for me.
Yeah, it's great that you mentioned the Olympics there. I mean, there have been conversations as regards if that would actually hold at the moment. But yeah. I mean, I'm actually hoping that it does hold because with what the world has been through in the past year plus, we definitely need a major sporting activity like the Olympics to cheer us up, to give us that sense of oneness and warmness and just help us to enjoy ourselves again compared to how 2020 and 2021 so far has been with the lockdown and things like that.
Okay, before we close out, it's worthy of note that we are going to be having a webinar this month, and as much as possible, we'll be having a lot of, top leaders within the agri space that will come and talk about agri insurance and insurance, insurtech in agricultural space and, how insurance impacts that space as well. So I think that it's a good listen. We've not really had anybody from that space, except for Knut here. Kinetia come on board to talk about agricultural insurance. So this is, one of a kind, and we just thought that it was unique for people to have an understanding, especially now that agriculture is supposed to be one of the gold mine for the African country. So it would be nice for a lot of people, our audience, to also come on board during the webinar. Sometimes this month we'll communicate the date at a later time. We are still, as much as possible, trying to tidy up a lot of things.
Speaking about the agricultural space, agric insurance space, one of the insurtechs that got funding recently was Pula. And it's just exciting to see that people are seeing, investors are seeing, the value that some of these insurtechs can bring, especially on the African continent, and especially looking at the agric insurance space, which is quite huge. A lot of the things that they are doing to provide small-scale farmers with the confidence that, hey, they can actually go on to do what they can do this thing that they can, they are passionate about without fear, and with the confidence that, hey, if anything happens, insurance can be there to take care of whatever shortfalls, right? And it ties really to a number of the SDGs, zero hunger, right? So yeah, we're super excited about this one, and like Folumi said, we'll share a lot more details about the speakers and the dates. It's going to be virtual, so we'll definitely be happy to host everyone, and we are super excited about it.
Again, we're sending our love to you because you are the real MVP. You always listen to our conversations, and you're the reason why we are growing in this space. So once again, thank you so much. As usual, we're always expecting your feedback, expecting your shout outs, and we hope that you enjoy the rest of this beautiful week. Do take care. Signing off, Folumi.
Yeah, Damola, thank you very much. Stay safe. It's my birth month, so enjoy yourself. It's going to be low-key. We are in a pandemic situation.
Please, watch it.
So yeah, take care of yourself. Do stay safe. Coronavirus is real.